For centuries, Earth had been silent. Its skies were empty of birds, its forests overgrown yet strangely quiet, and its cities lay in ruins. Humanity, once proud and unstoppable, had been pushed to the edge by alien empires that spread across the stars. Their warships darkened the skies, and their weapons reduced entire cities to ash. Humans had become a species whispered about in fear, a shadow of their former selves. The world had learned to bow, to hide, and to survive in silence. But deep beneath the surface, in the hidden bunkers, caves, and abandoned subway tunnels, the fire of humanity still burned. Children born underground had never seen sunlight, yet they were told stories of the earth that was free, a world of forests, oceans, and skies that stretched endlessly. Parents whispered tales of heroes who had fought for freedom long before the aliens came. Those stories were more than memory. They were hope. It began quietly, almost imperceptibly. A signal, weak and flickering, traveled through old satellites that humans had secretly repaired. The message was simple: we are still here. We fight. At first it seemed like nothing, just a few words floating in the void. But it ignited something inside the human heart, something no alien weapon could destroy. Across hidden settlements, humans listened to the signal, and in that instant, their fear began to turn into courage. Among the first to hear it was Cale, a young man living in the ruins of what was once New York. He had grown up in tunnels, scavenging for food and water, never dreaming that one day he would see the world above again. Yet when the signal reached him, his eyes widened with a strange, burning excitement. "It's time," he whispered to the small group of friends who had become his family. "It's time we remind them who we are." Humans had learned to survive in hiding. They had mastered stealth, endurance, and patience. But they had never given up the dream of rising. Now the moment had come. Children, teens, and elders alike took up whatever weapons they could find: makeshift blades, scavenged firearms, and even ancient explosives. They were not just fighting for survival. They were fighting for Earth itself. Every human, no matter how small or weak they had once been, carried within them a spark that refused to die. When the first coordinated strikes began, the alien forces thought it was merely a nuisance, a few desperate humans flailing in the dark. But humans had changed. Cale and his friends led small squads that moved with precision, hitting supply lines, communication towers, and alien patrols. Every victory, no matter how small, spread hope like wildfire. Humans who had spent their lives in fear began to stand taller, their steps surer, their voices louder. The underground that had once been a place of hiding became a place of planning, training, and resistance. The aliens had never understood humanity. They saw humans as weak, fragile, and simple. They believed that a species confined to one small, devastated planet could never threaten the vast expanse of their interstellar empire. But humans had something the aliens could not measure: heart. Humans had something no laser, no starship, and no empire could crush: an unbroken spirit, a refusal to surrender, and a love for their home that burned brighter than any weapon. Even the air seemed to hum with the change. Birds, long absent from the ruined cities, began to return, cautiously at first, sensing the new energy in the world. Rivers, once polluted, carried the faint glimmer of life. Humans, when they emerged from the shadows, were no longer afraid of the skies. They looked upward, dreaming not just of survival, but of victory. Cale led his team through the wreckage of old streets. Every building they passed told a story of a past humanity had lost, but every step forward was a promise of a future they would reclaim. They moved with quiet determination, each heart beating in unison with the rhythm of the earth itself. It was not just a fight for survival. It was a fight for remembrance, for honor, for every life that had been stolen by the alien oppressors. That night, as they reached the top of a collapsed skyscraper, Cale looked out across the horizon. The alien warship still loomed, casting shadows over the ruins. Yet in the human eyes that surrounded him, he saw no fear. He saw hope. He saw courage. and he knew deep in his soul that Earth was awakening. The long silence had ended, and the heartbeat of humanity, once thought broken, was louder than ever. Somewhere deep in the alien empires, sensors would pick up strange signals, small attacks, sudden movements, and untraceable communications. The aliens would laugh at first, then grow wary, and eventually they would fear. But that fear was not for what humans could destroy. They would fear the impossible. That humans, unbroken and relentless, would rise again. Kyle clenched his fists, feeling the power of a world ready to awaken. "We are humans," he said softly, almost to himself. "And we are unbroken." And with that, the first spark of a revolution began to blaze across the ruins of Earth. The fight for the planet, for freedom and for humanity itself had started, and nothing would ever be the same again. The humans had been hiding for centuries, but now they were awake. The signal that had spread through the secret networks had not only awakened their courage, it had awakened their purpose. Across the planet, humans began to move like shadows, but these shadows carried fire. They struck where the aliens were weak, hitting supply depots, communication towers, and small garrisons. Each attack was precise, calculated, and unstoppable in its determination. Kyle and his team led one of the first squads outside their underground city. They moved through the broken streets with quiet determination, their eyes scanning every shadow. Children who had grown up underground watched from hidden spots, learning, inspired by the courage of those who dared to rise. "We're finally free," whispered one young girl to her brother, her voice trembling with excitement. "We're really free." The aliens at first laughed at the small uprisings. They called the humans foolish, weak, and hopeless. Their warships patrolled the skies, their weapons ready to crush anything that moved. But the humans had learned to fight differently. They were clever, creative, and unpredictable. While the aliens relied on brute strength and advanced technology, humans relied on courage, ingenuity, and unity. In one ruined city, Mika, a young engineer, had discovered an old power grid. She turned it into a trap. When the alien patrol moved through the streets expecting an empty city, a wave of energy surged from the ground, disabling their vehicles. The patrol panicked, not understanding how something so small could cause so much destruction. Mika smiled, seeing the fear in their eyes. For the first time, humans realized that even their simplest actions could shake the mighty alien forces. News of human victories spread quickly. Other hidden groups joined the fight. Farmers, scavengers, and scientists all came together under one banner: Earth. A small band of hunters in Africa disrupted an alien mining operation, cutting off resources vital to the invaders. In Asia, engineers repurposed old satellites into communication beacons, coordinating attacks across continents. Every corner of the planet that had once felt despair now pulsed with a strange, thrilling hope. Captain Leora, a veteran of the early skirmishes, looked at her team before the biggest strike yet. "They think we are weak," she said, her voice steady. "They think we hide and cower, but we have something they will never understand: the fire of unbroken humans. We fight not because we want war, but because this is our home, and we will never surrender it." The humans launched their attack at dawn. Alien troops were caught off guard. Humans moved with speed and precision, hitting weak points that the aliens had never guarded. The skies over the city roared with explosions, but the humans did not falter. Children cheered from hidden places. Families watched in silent pride, and every heartbeat is one with the courage of their ancestors. Even the aliens began to feel fear. Their warships were powerful, but their weapons could not anticipate the cleverness of humans. The humans learned quickly, adapting with every attack. They turned the aliens' own technology against them, hacking systems, redirecting drones, and disabling massive war machines. Every victory, no matter how small, spread across the planet like wildfire, igniting hope in those who had been hiding for generations. Kale stood on a rooftop, watching the city burn from the alien strikes and the human counterattacks. He felt a surge of pride. "We are not just surviving," he said to his team. "We are rising." Every street we reclaim, every enemy we defeat is a promise that Earth will not fall. We are humans and we are unbroken. Even the youngest children who had never touched a weapon learned to fight in small ways. They became messengers, scouts, and guides through the dangerous ruins. Humanity's strength was no longer in machines or technology. It was in the unity, courage, and hope that flowed through every person on Earth. By nightfall, the aliens realized something they had never thought possible. Humans were not just resisting, they were winning. Entire supply lines were cut, patrols destroyed, and communication networks in chaos. The aliens' arrogance was being replaced by fear. Their systems, built on the assumption that humans were weak, were failing. The very people they had considered primitive were now a force that no weapon could fully stop. Mika looked at the flickering lights of her city, thinking of the first signal that had awakened them. It seemed small then, almost insignificant, but it had sparked something bigger than anyone had imagined. Humans were no longer hiding, they were rising. And with every passing hour, the alien empires felt the tremor of a threat they had never expected. An unbroken Earth, alive with courage, hope, and fire. As the night sky lit up with distant explosions and the faint glow of fires, Kale and Leora stood together. "This is only the beginning," Leora said, her eyes fierce with determination. "They will come back stronger, but so will we. We are humans, and nothing can stop an unbroken species." In that moment across the planet, humans felt it. The fear that had once kept them in darkness was gone. The fire of hope and courage now burned in every heart. Earth had awakened. The humans were awake, and the galaxy would soon learn a truth it could not ignore. Humanity was not broken. Humanity was relentless. Humans had risen, but the aliens were not finished. Their fleets, massive and terrifying, gathered in orbit above Earth. Warships the size of cities hung in the blackness of space, their weapons bristling with firepower. They had faced rebellion before, but never a species as relentless, as clever, as unbroken as humans. For the first time in centuries, the aliens realized their enemy might not only survive, they might win. On Earth, Kyle and Leora prepared the human fleet. Ships scavenged from old designs, patched together with ingenuity and courage, now orbited the planet ready to strike. The humans had never fought in space before. They had never faced the scale of the enemy above them. Yet fear was a stranger to them now. Every human knew what was at stake: their home, their families, their planet. They would fight no matter the cost. The first human strike teams launched from hidden spaceports. Their ships were small, fast, and unpredictable. They moved through asteroid belts and abandoned satellites, striking the alien outposts with precision. Explosions lit the black void as alien defenses faltered. Communication lines were cut. Supply convoys destroyed. The aliens had expected easy victory, but humans had rewritten the rules. Captain Leora's voice crackled through the comms. "Remember why we fight. For Earth, for our people, for every life that was stolen. We are not just defending a planet. We are showing the galaxy what humans are capable of." Her words spread like wildfire through the fleet. Every pilot, every engineer, every fighter felt the power of her conviction. They were humans. And humans did not break. Kale piloted a small but nimble ship alongside a squad of fighters. They darted between massive alien warships, dodging laser fire and missiles. Each movement was precise, each strike calculated. The aliens were shocked by the humans' daring. How could a species they considered weak and primitive move with such speed, such precision, such fearlessness? Below, on the ruined surface of cities that had once been thriving metropolises, people watched the sky light up. Children held hands with their parents, faces pale but eyes bright. "That's our people," one father whispered, tears in his eyes. "That's humanity. They've never given up." From every corner of the world, humans looked upward, feeling pride in a way that had been impossible for generations. Their species had endured. Their species had risen. The battle in space raged for hours. Alien ships fired relentlessly, trying to crush the human attackers. Yet the humans adapted, using every trick, every strategy. Every piece of old Earth technology they could find. Satellites repurposed as weapons blasted enemy shields. Drones hacked and redirected tore through formations. Explosions scattered debris across the void, marking each human victory. At one critical moment, an alien warship fired a massive beam intended to annihilate Kale's squadron. Without hesitation, he maneuvered his ship through a narrow asteroid field. The beam followed, striking the asteroids instead, creating a massive cascade of rock that crashed into the alien ship. It shattered, drifting silently into the void. The squad cheered, their victory small but powerful. Every success gave humans more confidence, and every failure taught them resilience. Even the alien commanders began to doubt themselves. Their perfect fleets, their centuries of dominance, their advanced technology, none of it could predict or contain human cunning. Each encounter revealed that humans fought not just with weapons, but with spirit. Every maneuver, every sacrifice, every act of bravery struck fear into the hearts of their oppressors. By nightfall, the first clash had ended. The human fleet, battered but triumphant, returned to orbit. Below, the people of Earth celebrated quietly, knowing the war was far from over, but also knowing something miraculous. They had struck the alien forces in their own domain and survived. Kale and Leora stood together in the command center, watching the stars littered with debris from the battle. "We've done something impossible today," Leora said softly, almost in disbelief. "We've shown them that humans will not bow. We've shown them that Earth will fight." Kale nodded, feeling a surge of hope. "They think they are invincible," he said, his voice steady. "But they've never faced humans who have nothing to lose. They've never faced unbroken humans." For the first time in centuries, the galaxy saw the power of humanity. Not just a species that could survive, but a species that could rise, adapt, and strike fear into the hearts of the mighty. Humans were no longer prey. They were predators. They were survivors. And they were awakening in ways no alien empire had ever imagined. As the stars glimmered with the remnants of the battle, Kale whispered to himself, "This is only the beginning. We are humans, and we will rise until nothing stands against us." And somewhere deep within the alien fleets, fear began to grow. They had conquered worlds, destroyed civilizations, and thought themselves untouchable. But humans were different. Humans were relentless. Humans were unbroken. The alien emperors had ruled countless worlds. They had crushed rebellions before, enslaved entire species, and destroyed planets without hesitation. Yet now, as reports from their commanders flooded in, a sense of unease grew in their palaces. Something was different about Earth's humans, something that even their vast knowledge and weapons could not measure. On the throne world of Zephyrax, Emperor Talthor sat in his grand hall, surrounded by advisors and generals. Holographic displays showed entire human fleets moving with precision across star systems. Supply lines were collapsing. Outposts were falling. And the humans, they were winning. "This cannot be," Talthor growled, his voice echoing through the hall. "They are weak, primitive. They cannot survive against us." But his generals avoided his gaze. Reports kept coming of sabotage, of traps that had no explanation, of humans turning even the most advanced alien technology against them. Entire colonies that once pledged loyalty to the Empire were now siding with Earth. Fear began to creep into the hearts of those who had never known it. In a distant sector, Mika worked feverishly in a human command hub. Using hacked alien networks, she broadcast messages of defiance across the Empire. "You took our planet. You tried to crush our hope. But Earth still stands, and we will not fall." Her words spread through every system, reaching those who had once obeyed alien rule without question. Humans, they realized, had not only survived, they had become a symbol of courage. The alien governors began whispering among themselves. They had ruled through fear, but fear now turned against them. Where once they could intimidate, they were now intimidated. Where once they could strike with impunity, they hesitated. Their empire, built on control, was cracking. Kale and Leora watched the changes from their command center. "They are scared. Kyle said quietly, eyes fixed on the holographic displays. For the first time in centuries, they are afraid of us. Leora nodded, a fierce smile forming on her face. And rightly so. We fight for something they cannot understand. Home, family, freedom. They can destroy cities, but they cannot destroy courage. Across the Empire, humans continued their strikes, small but relentless. Supply ships were intercepted, communication nodes sabotaged, patrols eliminated. Every victory, no matter how minor, spread fear faster than any fleet could move. Aliens began to see patterns they could not predict, patterns born from ingenuity, unity, and relentless human spirit. In one daring mission, Kale led a squad to liberate a human settlement on a distant moon. The alien garrison was well-armed, confident, and cruel, yet humans fighting with precision and courage overcame them. Children who had never held a weapon watched as humans fought for their future. The victory was not just strategic, it was symbolic. Every alien who fell, every colony liberated sent a message across the Empire. Humans were rising and nothing could stop them. Even Emperor Talthor could no longer ignore the truth. He paced the floors of his throne room, gripping the armrests of his seat. How can this be? He muttered. They are a primitive species. They should not survive, and yet they rise. His advisors were silent. Some dared to suggest retreat, but Talthor would not hear it. His pride, his power, and his empire were at stake. Still, deep down he felt fear, the kind of fear he had never known. A fear that gnawed at the foundation of his empire, the first crack in his invincible rule. Meanwhile, humans were learning too. They were learning to fight not just with weapons, but with hope. Every small victory inspired another, and every act of courage multiplied across the hidden corners of the galaxy. Humans were not just resisting, they were inspiring a rebellion that no alien empire could ignore. Kale looked out at the stars, thinking of the countless humans rising across the world and beyond. This is bigger than us, he said softly. This is the awakening of our entire species. They thought they could break us, but we are unbroken. And in that moment the galaxy began to change. Alien thrones trembled, not because of firepower or fleets, but because of something far more powerful. A human spirit that refused to bow, refused to surrender, and refused to be forgotten. Earth's unbroken children, scattered across the ruins of their world, had become a force no empire could ignore. Somewhere, in the distant chambers of the alien palace, Talthor stared at the holograms of human victories, his hands shaking ever so slightly. He realized finally that the centuries of domination he had relied upon were crumbling. The humans were no longer prey. They were predators, unrelenting and unstoppable. And for the first time, the alien rulers understood a truth they had never faced. They could destroy worlds, but they could not destroy courage. They could crush cities, but they could not crush the human spirit. They could not break Earth. They could not break humans. The unbroken Earth was rising. The humans were relentless. And the thrones of the galaxy, once thought untouchable, now trembled in fear. The humans had survived, risen, and shown the galaxy their strength. But now it was time to unite. For generations, nations had fought each other on Earth, divided by borders and old rivalries. Yet under the fires of oppression, those differences melted away. What remained was a single truth. Humanity was unbroken, and the Earth must be defended. Kyle traveled from one human stronghold to another, meeting with leaders, engineers, and warriors. In the ruins of a city that had once been Cairo, he found scientists repurposing alien technology to make new weapons. In the forests of South America, scouts mapped alien supply routes and set clever traps. Across continents, children, elders, and fighters all worked together, learning, helping, and fighting in ways that mattered. Captain Leora addressed a council of human commanders. "We have shown them we can strike," she said. "But strikes alone are not enough. We must move together, united as one force. Every person, every skill, every mind matters. Our strength is not just in weapons, it is in our unity, in our courage, in our fire. Her words spread across networks and channels, reaching every hidden settlement. Humans who had once doubted themselves now felt a powerful surge of hope. The first major operation of the United Human Fleet was planned with precision. Ships from every corner of the planet, old and new, patched together with ingenuity, gathered in orbit. Their mission? Liberate key colonies and disrupt the Empire's control across multiple systems. The alien commanders who had begun to fear humanity prepared for battle, but they had never faced a united species. In one daring attack, Kyle led a fleet to a mining colony on a distant asteroid. Alien forces were well-armed, confident, and cruel, yet humans moved with precision, striking in waves. Explosions rocked the asteroid, but humans pressed on. They did not retreat. They did not falter. Every victory, every success, no matter how small, became a story that spread across the galaxy, inspiring humans everywhere to rise. Mika, working from a command hub on Earth, hacked the alien communication systems to broadcast messages of defiance and hope. The Empire thinks it can control us, but humans are unbroken. Humans are relentless. The Earth fights and we will not fall. Her words traveled from system to system, reaching colonies that had once served the aliens. Many turned their loyalty toward Earth, offering aid, information, and even troops. As the human fleet struck across multiple worlds, alien fleets began to crumble. Their technology was powerful, but humans were clever. They used the environment, the terrain, and even the aliens' own designs against them. Every victory sowed confusion among the enemy ranks. Every defeat made the aliens doubt themselves. Their empire, once confident, now trembled under the relentless advance of unbroken humans. Back on Earth, families watched the skies and celebrated quietly. Children waved at the distant flickers of human ships, imagining the battles above. Farmers and engineers worked tirelessly, building supplies, feeding warriors, and creating new strategies. Humanity was no longer divided. They were a single force, each person contributing to the fight in their own way. Kale stood on the bridge of his ship as it glided past the remains of a destroyed alien cruiser. "Look at what we've built," he said softly to Leora and the others. "We're not just surviving. We're rising. Together nothing can stop us." Leora nodded, her eyes shining. "They think they are unstoppable. But we are humans. We fight for home. We fight for freedom. And we fight together." The aliens tried to strike back, sending their strongest fleets to intercept human forces. But humans were ready. Ambushes, clever maneuvers, and the sheer unpredictability of a united people made every attack fail. The alien commanders grew frantic. Their once powerful empire could no longer suppress the fire of unbroken humans. Even those far from the battle felt the change. In hidden cities, survivors whispered stories of victories. Victories that seemed impossible. Victories that reminded them of their power. Humanity had discovered a strength no alien had ever anticipated: unity in fire. Every mind, every heart, every hand worked together to protect Earth and take the fight to the stars. As the day ended, Kale and Leora looked at the stars. Human ships gleamed like tiny sparks of hope, scattered across the darkness. "This is only the beginning," Kyle said. "Every world we touch, every life we inspire strengthens us, and every empire that opposes us grows weaker." Leora placed her hand on his shoulder. "The galaxy is learning the truth," she said. "Humans do not break. Humans do not surrender. And humans, when united, are unstoppable." In the silence of space, among the wreckage of alien fleets and the shining human vessels, the message was clear. The unbroken Earth was rising. Humans united in fire and courage were ready to claim their place among the stars, and no empire, no matter how powerful, could stop them. The humans had risen, fought, and united. Entire fleets now moved as one across the galaxy, striking fear into alien hearts. Every colony liberated, every patrol destroyed. Every victory won only strengthened the resolve of unbroken Earth. But now, the humans prepared for the final strike. The attack that would shatter the alien empire once and for all. The last throne world was a fortress floating near Neptune, a massive station of steel and energy, home to the alien rulers who had enslaved countless species. It was guarded by fleets that dwarfed anything humans had faced before, and yet fear had crept into the hearts of its commanders. They knew the humans were different. They knew that every trick, every tactic, every ounce of ingenuity could be turned against them. And they feared what they could not control, the unbroken human spirit. Kyle stood on the bridge of the flagship, staring at the fortress that loomed like a shadow against the stars. His crew, fighters and engineers from every corner of Earth, looked to him for guidance. He took a deep breath and spoke, his voice steady and full of fire. "This is our home. This is our fight. Every strike we make is for Earth, for our families, for the future of humanity. Today we finish what we started. We show the galaxy that humans are unbroken." Leora, standing beside him, checked the fleet's formation. "They think they are untouchable," she said softly. "But they've never faced humans united. Humans relentless. Humans who fight with courage and heart. Today they will learn." The battle began with a roar. Human ships darted through asteroid belts and defensive grids, striking with precision. Alien weapons fired relentlessly, lighting the void with beams of destructive energy. Yet humans adapted at every turn. They used debris as cover, rerouted enemy drones against their own ships, and hacked the alien systems to spread confusion. Every maneuver was calculated, every strike purposeful. Kale led a squadron into the heart of the fortress. Alien fighters swarmed, but humans moved with precision, anticipating every attack. Explosions rocked the hulls, fires ignited in corridors, and alarms blared across the station. But the humans pressed on, fearless, determined. They were not just fighting for victory. They were fighting for the survival of their species, the honor of Earth, and the memory of generations who had endured. Inside the fortress, the alien emperor paced his chamber, watching the battle unfold. For centuries he had ruled without fear. For centuries his commands were obeyed without question. Yet now humans had broken through his defenses. Entire fleets were falling, and his throne, once untouchable, trembled under the weight of relentless human courage. "Impossible," the emperor whispered, his voice tinged with panic. "How can a primitive species strike so boldly?" His advisors could only watch in silence, realizing that the empire they had trusted for centuries was collapsing before their eyes. On the surface of the fortress, human squads breached the central corridors. Kale, Leora, and their team moved swiftly, disabling key control systems and disabling weapon platforms. Explosions echoed through the halls as alien soldiers fell back in confusion. The humans' heart, courage, drove them forward, unstoppable and unbroken. Finally, they reached the central throne room. The Emperor, flanked by his elite guards, faced Kale and Leora. "You cannot defeat me," he hissed, his eyes wide with disbelief. "I am invincible." Kale stepped forward, holding the banner of Earth high. "You have ruled through fear. You have crushed countless worlds, but you never understood humans. We fight not for power. We fight for home. We fight for each other, and we are unbroken." The humans struck together, coordinated and relentless. Within moments, the fortress's defenses fell. The Emperor's guards were overwhelmed, and the throne room shook with the final collapse of alien control. Humanity had done the impossible. They had broken the unbreakable. As the fortress crumbled, Kale looked out at the stars. Across the galaxy, systems once loyal to the Empire were sending messages of allegiance to Earth. Colonies that had cowered under fear were now free. The alien empire, mighty and vast, was in ruins. And through it all, the humans had remained unbroken, relentless and unstoppable. Leora stood beside Kale, her eyes shining with pride and relief. "We've done it," she whispered. "We've shown them that courage cannot be crushed, that hope cannot be silenced, that humans are unstoppable." Kyle nodded, a smile spreading across his face. "This is only the beginning," he said. The galaxy has learned a truth no empire can deny. Humans rise. Humans fight. Humans endure, and we will never fall. The stars above Earth shone brighter that night, reflecting the fire of unbroken humanity. Across the galaxy, the message was clear. The humans had awakened, the alien thrones trembled, and empires that had once seemed eternal were now doomed. The fight was over, and humanity had won, not with weapons alone, but with courage, unity, and a spirit that no force could ever break. The galaxy had changed forever. The alien fleets that once dominated the stars now floated as silent wrecks, scattered across systems where humans had struck with precision and courage. Worlds that had trembled under alien control were now free, sending messages of allegiance and hope to Earth. The humans, unbroken and relentless, had proven that no empire could crush their spirit. On Earth, the first sunrise after the final victory felt different. It was brighter, warmer, and filled with promise. Cities that had been abandoned now buzzed with life. Families emerged from hiding. Children ran through streets once scorched and silent, and the oceans reflected a sky no longer shadowed by alien ships. Humans had survived centuries of oppression, and now they stood together stronger than ever. Kale walked through the rebuilt streets of his city, watching people work and laugh. Farmers tilled the soil, engineers repaired buildings, and children played games inspired by the stories of their parents' courage. He paused to look at a small statue being erected in the town square, a human figure holding a banner of Earth, eyes bright with determination. It was a symbol of everything humanity had endured and everything they had become. Leora joined him, her face glowing with pride. "We've done it," she said softly. "They thought they could destroy us, break us, erase us. But we rose, we fought. We won." Kale nodded. "They underestimated one thing," he said. "Humans do not bow. Humans do not surrender. And humans, when united, are unstoppable." Across the galaxy, alien empires were crumbling. Worlds that had once bowed in fear now celebrated freedom. Alien governors who had relied on terror now found themselves powerless, their fleets destroyed or turned against them. The message was clear. The old order had fallen. Humans were not just survivors. They were victors. On a distant, liberated colony, Mika watched the skies, recalling her first broadcasts of defiance. "We showed them," she whispered. "We reminded them that courage cannot be crushed, hope cannot be silenced, and humanity is unbroken." The alien emperor, the last of his kind, had fled, abandoning his throne world. No weapon, no fleet, no strategy could contain the humans. He had learned the hardest lesson of all. Power alone does not make an empire unshakable. Fear cannot build loyalty, and no amount of technology can defeat courage, unity, and an unbroken will. Kale and Leora stood together on a hill overlooking the ocean. The wind carried the scent of renewal, of life returning to a planet that had survived the impossible. "We are humans," Leora said, voice filled with awe. "We are Earth, and we have shown the galaxy what that means." Kale smiled, thinking of every person who had fought, every family who had endured, and every life lost along the way. "We are more than survivors," he said. "We are a species that refuses to break. And now the universe knows our name." Children ran past them laughing, holding small flags of Earth. The banners were simple, but they carried a profound truth. Humanity had reclaimed its home, its pride, and its future. The past centuries of oppression, fear, and silence had ended. The unbroken Earth had awakened, and nothing would ever take its spirit away again. Across the stars, messages of hope traveled faster than fleets. Humans were no longer a species hidden in shadows, they were a beacon. Planets that had once served alien masters now sought guidance, not domination. Humans shared knowledge, technology, and protection, creating alliances built on respect and trust rather than fear. They had learned the hardest lesson of empire. True power comes from courage, unity, and hope. As the sun set over Earth, casting golden light across mountains, oceans, and cities, Kale and Leora stood in silence, The fight had been long, hard, and painful, but the result was clear. The galaxy had witnessed the rise of a species that would never again be underestimated. "Empires are doomed," Kyle said, his voice steady. "But humans endure, humans rise, and humans will never be broken." Leora looked at him, tears of pride and joy in her eyes. "This is our home," she said. "Our fight. Our victory. And nothing can take it from us now." In that moment, the unbroken Earth shone brighter than any star. Humanity had survived, endured, and risen. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would never forget. Humans were relentless, courageous, and unstoppable. Alien thrones had trembled, empires had fallen, but one truth remained eternal: the spirit of Earth and its people could never be broken. And so the humans stood together, proud and unyielding, looking to the stars, ready for whatever future awaited them. They were the unbroken. They were the rising. They were humanity,